Okay, we are recording. Welcome everybody to the third live coaching call of second quarter 2019 Team Z Elite Business Bootcamp. There's a mouthful for you. We are excited to be here with you and very excited to see your faces who are here live on the third bootcamp call because you guys are showing up still and we're proud of you. We know that's hard to do, especially this time of year. Well, every time of year is busy, right? But it feels like it's a busy time of year with activities and things like that. So welcome to the call. We're very excited to talk to you. We've got a couple of things that we're going to talk about tonight. Is from a training perspective, but also, as always, we'll go wherever you want us to in the Q&A section. So let me go ahead and kick it over to Mike to kick us off tonight. I'm going to talk about, when he's done, I'm going to talk about how to persevere. And but let me kick it off to Mike to set us off. Without further ado, Mr. Lopez.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. And like Eric mentioned, first live coaching call, we had a large group. There's pages and pages. Second group, there's a few less pages. In this group, so far, we have one page as far as what I can see. And kudos to you for being here. And obviously, there's people who are not on this call who have legitimate reasons for not being here. They have different things going on, church or meetings or kids and whatnot. But there's also people that along the way that have fallen off, that aren't engaged, that aren't doing stuff, that invested the money in boot camp and aren't doing anything or kind of fallen off. But that's not you. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about you and persevering. Eric's going to talk about that more specifically. But when we started boot camp, I'm going to kind of finish off where we started. When we started boot camp, I said there were three keys to having a successful boot camp. The first one was to increase your confidence. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now, if you can flash back to, what is it? Where are we? 8 weeks? We're 10 weeks? I'm lost. Where are we at?
Week 9.
We're at week 9, yes. So flashback 9 weeks. If you can give yourself a rating, a scale of 1 to 10, just write it down somewhere. A scale of 1 to 10 where you believe your confidence was 9 weeks ago. Give yourself a number. Okay, very simply, very quickly, just gut reaction. And then now, if you fast forward to this today, right now, what number do you give yourself regarding the confidence? What's your number for confidence? And if that number is not a 10, which I would say that most of us aren't going to put down a dead hard set 10, there's room for improvement, right? I have room for improvement in my confidence. So if you've made any kind of improvement in your confidence from 9 weeks ago to now, awesome. If you're still at the same number, that's okay. What is it going to take for you to be more confident, for you to move forward confidently from week 10, 11, 12, and beyond this boot camp? So that's the real question. If you've increased some, awesome. But the biggest part of the equation is having that mindset of I need to increase my confidence to be successful, not just in boot camp, but in life and my business and all the things that I'm looking to do. That's an awesome thing to have that. Now, the next one I said, the second thing was to reduce your fear. So we're looking for the opposite. What number were you what number were you 9 weeks ago? And then what number are you today? And we're looking for the opposite effect. We're looking for, if you were a 7, we're looking for a 5 or a 6 or a 4. So if we talk about reducing your fear, give yourself a scale of where you felt you were 9 weeks ago in fear and where you are now. So again, we're looking for the reverse where it's a less. And if you're the same number, it's okay. We're going to talk about some of those things of how to move past that. But reducing your fear is a key, again, not just to boot camp, but successful business life in general. And the third thing was to eliminate overthinking. All these three things are significant and all these things are relevant, or else I wouldn't talk about them, because it's what we see, not just with everyone that we work with in boot camp and Team Z, but with people that we work with outside of boot camp and Team Z and other businesses and other industries. It's still the same thing. Eliminating overthinking overthinking in general has to be one of the most detrimental things that causes us to not fulfill our destiny, to not be where we know we can be or where we should be based on our talents, our abilities, our God-given uh, uh, personalities, and all the things that we do in our traits, everything that we have to work with. So eliminating overthinking. Where were you? What was your number 9 weeks ago? And where are you now? Again, probably not at a 0. I'm not at a 0. And I've been working on it a long time. Huh?
And don't overthink your score. Just put it
Don't
down.
overthink your score. Yeah, don't overthink right now. Just put down whatever's there. So if you're at a 0, I'm bowing down to you. I'm not at a 0. I've been working at it for a long time. I still overthink when it comes to certain things, but I make decisions quicker now. I think if I overthink it, it's a matter of never, I say eliminate. I honestly don't know that you ever get to elimination, but the key is, are you taking action more quickly than you were before? So before you used to overthink overnight, and now you overthink till noon, or now you overthink for the next 5 minutes versus the next 20 minutes, all those kind of things. So just think about improvement, because when we all look at success, success is not leaps and bounds. There are times when we have quantum leaps. There are times when we have giant steps, but that's not typical. Success is day in and day out incremental improvements, moving the needle a little by little as we move toward our goals and our purpose and our whys. So that's the key. If you're on that track and you've done anything, and you're on this call, so you're in the game, you're paying attention, you've been consistent. Same thing. I don't believe anybody's hit every single day. We've had one boot camp where somebody did, but that's a very, very extreme exception. But you've had life. Things have come up. We told you at the beginning, things were going to come up. Things were going to happen. So how do you keep moving forward? So my encouragement to you is to finish strong. Eric's going to talk about perseverance. I'm just going to say finish strong. You have the next 3 weeks beyond this week, and then you have 30 more days beyond that. We give an extra 30 days to catch up and anything you might have missed. So boot camp for you, officially in terms of access to videos and everything else, is through August 21st. Okay, through August 21st. The Facebook group that we're all involved in is indefinite until Facebook closes it down, which I don't think they're going to close them down. So those are open. And by the way, after August 21st, you have a question, concern, that's still your group and that's still our group. Eric and I are in there. If you have a question beyond August 21st, by all means, we're still there to serve. It's not a matter of we're cutting off and we move on to the next group. We are in the next group, but we also are there for you. If you need something, you have a question, please utilize that Facebook group beyond August 21st. So that's a little bit of housekeeping on that sense. Eric talks about always be ready to share what you do and why you're passionate about it. One of my favorite lines is always be ready to have that conversation. What do you do and why are you passionate about it? And I share this quote every boot camp. And it's one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite people. And I'll post this in the group here in the next day or so. But Simon Sinek says it like this: working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. It's called passion. What do you do and why are you passionate about it? If you love what you do, it's passion. It's not stress. It's not hard. Some of you, it's still, some of you still overthinking. Some of you still dealing with fear, haven't done the invites as often. And that's what you really need to focus on and work on. But think about it from the standpoint of passion. Think about it from the standpoint of blessing somebody. Think of it from the standpoint of offering somebody something that they need, right? Again, not every single person you're talking to. It's the people that out of the 3 out of the 20 that you have great conversations with. And out of those 3 great conversations, you're going to have 3 invites, and one of those is going to turn into a conversion. Those are kind of mindset. But if we have the mindset to bless and to connect and to give and to serve, you're going to be successful. You're going to create advocates along the way. Like Eric said, those other 17, you're creating advocates. Even if they don't buy, they still have a good feeling about you. They have a good feeling about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that's what matters. So go confidently and live confidently in who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And the products that you sell, if you believe in them, then that's more than half the battle. If you don't believe them, that's another question. So that's another consideration. But if you believe in the products you have, if you're passionate about it, that's what it's all about. Working hard for something we don't care about, that's stress. It is. Working hard for something we love is called passion. So the other thing that I've thrown out there at times, and the other monkey wrench I threw in the conversation, the very first call, was talking about sales. And again, some of you looked at me cross-eyed like, I'm not a salesperson. And I challenged that thought as saying, any business, if you have a business, it needs sales. Now, your concept of sales might have been skewed and might have not been appropriate in terms of what you've experienced with other salespeople or how you've been taught by other trainers. But I shared with you, true sales is finding and discovering needs, wants and needs, and finding a way to meet those needs with what you have, the products that you have. The last thing I'm going to say about that is this. If you have a solution for somebody who you've engaged with and you've had a conversation, you found out what they need, and you don't make the invite, if you don't ask them if they're interested in learning more, I would call that negligence. Not just poor salespersonship, but negligence. You're withholding something from them, information from them, a blessing from them, something that can help and change their life in a way that you've experienced personally, and many people that you know and have served and have sold products to have experienced. So don't make that mistake. Don't withhold the blessing. Don't withhold something that you can help somebody else with. Sell them. How? What are their needs and wants and needs? And can I serve those wants and needs with what I have? And if I don't open my mouth and make the invitation, if I don't share my passion, if I don't invite them, I am withholding blessing. I am being negligent with what I'm given, the knowledge I'm given, the passion I'm given, the gifts I'm given, and the opportunity I've given. With that, I'm going to turn back over to Eric. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you these 9 weeks. And again, boot camp's not over. We still have plenty of time, and we're going to be there every step of the way. And like I said, and beyond. So we love you. We appreciate you. We appreciate your confidence in us. And we're here to serve. We love you. And Eric, back to you.
Thank you so much. It's very powerful, isn't it? That idea of not withholding your blessing. Did you guys let that sink in for a second? When you're afraid to invite somebody to your opportunity and sharing your passion with them, that's what you're doing, withholding the blessing that you have to offer them. Wow, that's deep. I agree with you, Mike. Let's not do that. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about how to persevere. Now, look, you guys are here. You've been working. There's a lot of people who will catch this on replay who have been working too. There are also people who haven't really started yet. I mean, they're in boot camp. I've been messaging with some people who really haven't started 9 weeks in. And we're talking about how, well, you've got 3 more weeks plus the extra 4 weeks. That's 7 weeks. We can still absolutely crush your business in a good way. Create a massive momentum in your business. You still have time. So for those of you guys who've been kind of going, hey, bootcamp's been great. I've learned some great things. I love the trainings, but I haven't really gotten my sleeves rolled up and gotten to work yet. That's okay. Just start today. It's all good. Let's get going. Does this make sense? I recently paid for a similar program with another trainer, just because I'm always wanting to learn like you. It was a bit more. It was what was it? $2,600, Mike?
Yeah.
$2,600. And I went to the live coaching calls and I learned a few things. And I said to Mike, I definitely got my value for my money. But did I engage every day? No, I didn't. I understand how that is. But I want to encourage you guys to get after it. Now, I want to talk to you about persevering, because persevering can be hard. Isn't that true? I mean, it can be hard. And I shouldn't say it can be. I think it kind of always is for the most part. Let me just start with this quote. I love this quote from Steve Jobs. He says, I'm convinced about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. I'm convinced about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. Half, right? We got to work on that. We've been working on everything else, but let's talk about half of it. It's perseverance. It's really important that you do not give up, that you keep going, that you do the work, and that you're consistent. This is how you're going to be successful. Okay. And so I want to talk to you guys about, I'm going to talk to you tonight about how to persevere through major challenges. But first, I want to talk to you about what I consider the 3 biggest challenges to your business. Okay? Some of you guys have heard this a couple of times because you're good students and you've been through boot camp. That's okay. You need to hear it again. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. The 3 biggest challenges to you in your business, you guys, make sure you're taking notes on these. Number 1, procrastination. Procrastination. Number 2 is boredom. Boredom. And the number 3 biggest challenge to your business is a lack of visible results. A lack of visible results. Procrastination, boredom, lack of visible results. This is what sidetracks us. I'm going to talk to you guys about major things that happen. Illnesses and death and divorce and the economy tanking and things like that that happen. But what sets more of us sideways than that are these 3 things: procrastination, boredom, lack of visible results. How many of you, like me, can be really good at procrastinating? We all are. And my joke is the ones who didn't raise their hands are getting to it later, right? We all procrastinate. We all have that in common. Now, one of the things, Mike and I have worked together for a long time, and part of the process of teaching people to grow is introspection and looking at yourself and always trying to improve yourself. And I have identified where my weaknesses lie is that I procrastinate, that I avoid conflict, that I sometimes get myself disorganized, right? I have a challenge with conceptions of time. Time passes more quickly than I realize. These are some of my challenges. But I also will freely admit that I am a much higher producing individual than the average person, which means I have figured out ways to overcompensate for these weaknesses and make sure that I dial things in. I have 10 calendars and 20 clocks. In my office right now, I have like 4 clocks. This is how I stay on time. I have no concept of time. I have to have clocks in every direction so that I can catch myself and go, oh my gosh, I have a meeting in a minute, so that I can stay on time. So you got to find tools to help yourself. So procrastination is one of the things I suffer from. So I'm going to now give you guys kind of a little tool on how to overcome procrastination. Oh, first I want to give you this is my little meme on procrastination. Procrastination leads to justification, which leads to stagnation. Procrastination leads to justification, which leads to stagnation. Before I give you my tips on how to overcome procrastination, I just want us to understand that we always justify our procrastination really well, don't we? We have really good reasons. And leaders, let me see the leaders on your team. You guys that are 6-figure earners, let me see your hands real quick or close to it, just real quick. Tell me the truth. When you get on those team calls with your team, how many of the people are sharing reasons why they've stopped following up with their leads? They're sharing the justification. Oh, that lead I told you about, she doesn't have any money, or their husband's a jerk. Or they start sharing publicly their justification. That's one of the things we do too, is we share our justification with others. So they go, oh yeah, that sounds like a good reason. And then what the result is that we accept the procrastination and we get stuck in stagnation. Make sense? I'm telling you guys this because when you hear yourself doing it tomorrow, for whatever reason, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I just did it. Okay? The awareness is the first step. Just, oh my gosh, I just did it. I just justified why I'm putting that off. Now, here's the tip. Schedule it. Schedule it. You want to reduce procrastination in your life? Put the important things in your schedule as an appointment. How many of you regularly put your power hour with Teamsy in your calendar? Let me see your hands. Okay, so I've got some hands there, and they happen to be people I know are pretty consistent. So my first recommendation is schedule it. Put your power hour in your calendar as an appointment. It doesn't have to be the same time every day. I mean, that's awesome. If you have that kind of schedule where you can put it the same time every day, that's great. But take a look at your week and say, okay, here's where I'm going to put it in for this week. Then what happens is it comes time to do your power hour, and you've got really good reasons to put it off. Has this happened to anybody or a friend of yours? Perhaps. So when you come across like a really good reason to put off your power hour, here's what I want you to do. Rather than just putting it off, I want you to, because I understand things are going to come up, right? What I want you to do is reschedule it. When you do procrastinate, reschedule. Okay? Because if you put it back in your calendar and it has a specific time and deadline when it's supposed to happen, it's more likely to get done. So just keep that in mind. I call it master procrastinator. Master procrastinators reschedule it. You reschedule it. And if you have to reschedule it twice or 3 times, keep doing it. And what's cool is, when you've got it in your calendar, it's like you can just open it up and just change the time and it automatically moves, right? So keep that going. By the way, if you are in a committed relationship and you share a calendar with somebody in your family, I don't know how many of you guys do that. My wife and I have a shared calendar on our phones, so that if she has an appointment I need to be aware of, I know. And every appointment I have, I put in her calendar so she knows that I'm, got an appointment. What's cool about this is it's another layer of accountability, because when you're rescheduling something important several times, you might get called out on it, and that's okay, right? That's all good for us, because I want you guys to know we need accountability to call us out on our procrastinating. That's why you're here in this group. That's why you've got success partners. It's really important that we have accountability to call us out on it. So schedule it, reschedule it, make sure you have accountability. Right? Okay. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about, let me just give you an example on this. So some of you have been doing this for a while. Maybe you're new to relationship marketing, new to Teamzy. You feel like you're doing the activities. Maybe you haven't got an avalanche of results yet. You guys would be in that lack of visible results area, right? You'd be in that lack of visible results area. Some of you may be doing this for a while and being successful with it, but it's kind of getting boring because you've been doing it a while. I don't know. I'm looking at Suzanne. She's in her 5th boot camp in a row. Kathy's in her, is it 3?
Yeah.
3? Third boot camp in a row. Like, I hope you're not getting bored, but maybe you're in the boredom stage. So it's like easy to go, well, I've done a lot. I've reached out to 70,000 people in the last 6 months. Maybe I just, I'm kind of bored with it or whatever. Some of you guys, you see what I'm saying? Like, this could be happening. For those of you who haven't seen the results yet, but you feel like you've been doing the stuff, I want you guys to understand that relationship marketing is a compounding system. It compounds. And some of you will get it quickly. Some of you will take a little bit more time, but it compounds to the point where, oh my gosh, all of a sudden you'll be completely overwhelmed with the results that are happening in your business because of what you're doing consistently. Okay, so just kind of a side note, the relationship marketing system, it always works 100% of the time. It's never failed to work. If you keep going, persist through the procrastination, persist through the boredom, persist through the lack of visible results, okay? Those results will hit you. But I just want to give you guys, kind of take you through some examples. How many of you guys have ever heard yourself saying things like, I think I'm just going to do my power hour tomorrow. I'll just do it in the morning. I'm just going to put it off a little bit. Or I really need to do my power hour, but my desk is a total disaster. Maybe I should just take a minute and organize my desk. Right? We had a laugh about this last boot camp because I had to confess to Mike, who was my boss for a decade, that sometimes I would be very busy organizing my desk at work instead of doing something productive. But as business owners, right, that's not the best use of your time. You want to stay focused. Or something like, I've heard people saying this all the time. My business isn't where I thought it would be at this point. So I'm thinking of maybe just putting it on the back burner for a bit. Have you guys ever heard those words come out of your mouth or out of somebody on your team's mouth? And when somebody says they're going to put their business on the back burner for a bit, just so you know, the likelihood of them ever getting that off the back burner is really small. Really small. You need to encourage them, slap them, smack them, bring them back to their goals. And if it's you that's feeling that way, hopefully this call will kind of wake you up a little bit. But I want to give you guys just a little analogy. It's my favorite analogy for this because I really can't think of another way to frame this. by show of hands, how many of you have children, have raised kids, or let me see all the parents. Raise your hands if you've got kids. Just about everybody. Just about everybody. If you don't have kids, fur parents, we'll count that for this. If you've got, okay, great. Fur parents. How many of you have successfully, for the entire life of your child, or perhaps your pets, have managed to feed them every single day? Let me see parents who have successfully fed your children or pets every day of their life. You guys are awesome, every single one of you. Can you imagine going a whole day without bringing food to your kids? I mean, I understand there are people in this world who don't have food, but thank God, we don't have that problem, do we? Can you imagine not feeding them? Imagine just saying, I don't feel like doing it today, so I'm not going to do it. Anybody? How many of you never had times where you didn't feel like feeding those kids or fixing them food? All the time. All the time. We joke about how, trying to get my kids are getting older. So we've got a 19-year-old, 9-year-old, 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So the older ones, it's like they've learning how to fix a few things themselves. Go fix it yourself, right? Just get your food. Our big joke was that our oldest always complains that we never have food in the house, only ingredients. We don't have any food. And now we've got one of these, we've got one of these tower gardens going. So now it's like green stuff. What am I going to do with all these green leafy things? You eat them. Anyways, so you never fail to feed your kids. This is what I want you guys to understand. How many of you have failed to feed your business at least one day? All of us. There's a huge difference, isn't there? The reason why you've never failed to feed your kids is because the why is very clear. The why is very clear. Does this make sense? The truth is your business actually feeds your kids. True? I mean, some of you, this might just be a side hustle right now. It hasn't replaced your income, but that's the goal, isn't it? That your business would actually provide for your kids. So I want you to start thinking about it a little differently, because the why is really clear about taking care of your kids, but it's not as strong for your business. If you're finding that you are giving into these things, procrastination, boredom, getting discouraged by the lack of visible results, often, first thing I would do is bring you back to your why. Maybe you need to go through that training again on finding your why and go a little deeper with it. Maybe you haven't found a why that really gets you fired up and excited. Now, there's going to be days where your business is never going to be as important as feeding your kids. That's cool. That's okay. But let's get it closer to that. Does this make sense? So I want to bring you back to your why. It's your why. You got to focus on your why. How do you overcome procrastination? I gave you a few tips to help, but in boredom and lack of visible results, you got to get focused on your why. You got to get focused on your why. Now, here's a couple tips on your why. I'm really sorry about this camera going blurry on me a little bit. The sun's setting. It keeps changing my lighting. One tip, obviously we put your why on TeamZ so you can see it every day, but if you're not logging into TeamZ every day because you need help with your why, then it's not helping you. So what I recommend you do is write the why down, like on a sticky note, or some of you are a bit too perfectionist for that. You'll want to type it out, make it beautiful. But I think you should put your why on the mirror in your bathroom, your main bathroom, where you brush your teeth twice a day and do your makeup and get ready, wherever that mirror is. That's where I want you to put your why. Okay? Because I know you're going to see it at least twice a day, and you're going to see it while you're getting ready or whatever, while you're doing physical things, which helps your brain remember it. How many of you share a mirror with a significant other? Great. Guess what that means? That means if you post your why there, not only will you be seeing it, so will that significant other. Do you think that'll put a little fuel on the accountability at home on your why? How many of you have kids still at home? Your kids need to be seeing this why too. Guess what will happen when your loved ones see it? They will remind you. Your kids will start saying, Mommy, did you do your power hour today? Would that be helpful? Daddy, did you do your power hour today? You didn't? So why are you watching? You're watching Game of Thrones right now? You should go do your power hour. It'll help. So get it on there, stick it in there. And some of you might want to put it in other places too. I know people have put it on the back of their phone. If you have a clear phone case, you can put it in the phone case. I mean, just get it in your face as much as you can. I can't even tell you guys how this will change your life. It will change your life because it reprioritizes your moments. It reprioritizes your moments. It's like budgeting. How many of you guys have a budget for your finances at home? Some of you do. Little story about me. My dad declared bankruptcy, I don't know, maybe 5 times while I was a kid. I had nobody teaching me how to be good with money. I went to college and I borrowed a bunch of money to get through college. When I got out of college, you couldn't pay back those loans. They started defaulting. People started giving me credit cards. I mean, it was a mess. My early 20s, man, I made so many bad financial decisions. And when I think I was, how old was I? Maybe 30 when I learned how to budget. I might have been in my late 20s. I learned how to budget and track what I was spending and do it on purpose instead of on accident, and paid my way out of my debt and rebuilt my credit, the whole thing. And for many years, I used to teach people how to do this and how to get financially straight. I actually did. I know, Jackie, you took my class, which is on Teams University on getting financially free. It's one of our optional trainings on there. But I got to tell you the story because my sister was a major fundraiser for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and it was her passion, and she would lead the big cystic fibrosis walk and the whole thing. And when I was really getting into the budgeting things, I was watching everything I spent. At that time, I didn't have a huge income. So I had to really be tight. And I remember one time we were at the store and I asked her, I said, "Hey, do you have any gum or anything in your purse?" And we were at the checkout line and she says, "Well, there's some right there. Why don't you get some?" I said, "That's okay. I don't need it." And what she thought I was saying was, she thought, "Oh my gosh, my little brother is so broke, he can't even afford a pack of gum. What am I going to do?" She came over to my house a couple of days later with a trunk load of groceries and brought them in because she thought I wasn't eating. But what I had to explain to her was, no, I'm just prioritizing what I spend on so I can spend on what I need to. And that year I was able to give her foundation, her walk, $3,000. She was like, "Where did this come from?" I go, "It came from deciding not to buy a pack of gum here and doing this there." Does that make sense? It's about your priorities. And so having your why everywhere you go, it reminds you of your priorities, and the little decisions that you make will really change your life. How many of you guys have read Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect? Have you guys read that? There's one chapter where he talks about grabbing the 5 M&Ms out of the receptionist bowl every day on the way to the desk. Right? He talks about what happens if you grab 5 M&Ms out of the receptionist bowl every day on the way to the desk, how that compounds, and it's like at the end of the year, it's like you're 7 pounds heavier. Does that make sense? So it's like, what are the 5 M&Ms that keep appearing in your day that are sidetracking you from your goals, from your why? So, okay. Anyways, I think I beat that horse hard, right? You guys got the point there. Focus on your why. All right.
Eric, this is Barry. I just want to say one thing about this compound effect. To me, part of the issue here is the why, and part of it is the accountability. And so it just dawned on me that I think the compound effect happens on accountability too. You're around enough people, you share it with enough people, you got a team, you got a family, you got a wife, you got a work. You can't let them down. Right. And so I think there's a compound around accountability, which sometimes, and I'm one of them, I can hide out. If I make an appointment with you at a certain time, I'm there. But if I make an appointment with me, I can hide out because I'm not accountable myself. So I need a bigger compound of accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can use your social media followers as an additional layer too. Public accountability is huge, for sure.
Nice.
I did it years ago. I did P90X. Have anybody ever done that workout program? I did P90X years ago, and I had tried a bunch of times unsuccessfully to do it. And so finally I went on Facebook and I said, "Hey, Facebook friends, hold me accountable to this. I'm going to post every day and come find me if I don't." And if I missed a post, people would start posting, "Where's your post? Did you do your workout today?" And it worked. I lost 60 pounds in 100 days. Pretty cool, right? You're absolutely right. The accountability is huge. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about when life gets hard, when you have to come up against sickness, injury, death, relationships that implode, natural disasters. I don't know, the government whatever they can do to mess with you. You know, like when life really gets hard and things happen that are just like insane. We've had people in this group, in our group, that have had really challenging things happen. You know, I know one person in our group who is one of the most consistent people in this group. During this boot camp, she lost her best friend. You know, it's like, how do you even talk about that? Things happen in life that are hard to all of us. And if it hasn't happened to you in this boot camp, you know, bless you. I'm glad that didn't happen. I guarantee you something bad will happen. Something challenging, difficult will happen. It's just something that we're promised that will happen in our lives. And so I want you guys to know that this is the principle I want you to get from this. When your life feels like it's spinning out of control, often the only thing you can have control over is what you put into your business. Okay, when your life feels like it's spinning out of control, often the only thing that you can actually have some control over is what you put into your business. It's like a little piece of solid ground you can grab hold of and create a little bit of just a little island of stability in your life. Okay, so talking about something like just doing a power hour despite everything that's happening, reaching out to people, connecting, keeping things moving in your business. It's something that you can do. And even when you're like, you know, because you guys are using Teamsy, you've got the scripts. It's so easy. Like, even if you're not feeling it, you can put a smiley face emoticon on one of those scripts and message it to somebody. And doesn't it lift you up when they respond back and are excited to have heard from you, even though it was like, ugh, I'm sending this message, right? It lifts you up. So this is one thing I can control. This is one way I can still help people. I can still help my family. I can still do something positive, even though I'm in this place right now that doesn't feel very good. Does that make sense? So what I want you guys to do is this concept, Mike and I have been talking about for years. I don't even know where the word picture came from, but the concept is when times are really tough, you just keep one oar in the water. You just keep one oar in the water. You might not be going crazy. You might not be doing big double flame boot camp numbers, but you just kind of keeping one oar in the water and you keep moving forward. Does it make sense? Reach out to a few people. Just keep that little bit of movement going. And so when times are really tough, where you stay focused is on your personal business standard. You just stay focused on your personal business standard. You know, I made a commitment to reach out to 19 people. I'm going to do, you know, I forget what mine was, nine prospects, 6 customers, and 4 distributors. That was my commitment. I'm just going to do it. I don't feel like it. I don't want to, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to stay focused on this and get it done. I'm going to send those messages out. I'm just going to focus on my personal business standard. Okay. And I just want you guys to know the times will get tough. And so that's all you can do is just keep that one oar in the water. Some of you are there right now. And so I hope that encourages you. But what you can't do is pull the oars in and just go adrift, because you don't know where you're going to end up. You're not going to end up anywhere you want to go. Does that make sense? And you can't just huddle there. You have to keep going, because I'm sorry, but we don't get to do that. Life keeps happening. Life goes on. We have to keep moving forward as best as we can. So hopefully I can encourage you guys. And I hope that you guys as leaders can take some of those word pictures and some of these words and use them to encourage people on your team when you see this happening, when you see the drift happening, when you see the lack of motivation happening, right? When you see the frustration happening. Now, there's one more area that sometimes we struggle with, and that's when we go through peaks and valleys in our business. Okay, so I want you guys also to understand, my last piece here on perseverance is that you should expect peaks and valleys in your business. Even if you are consistent and you are doing your Teamsy every single day and you do 5 consecutive boot camps and you are the model citizen in the Teamsy land, right? You will still have peaks and valleys in your business. People are like, wow, he's like a sage. How did he know? It's just the cycle. You will have peaks and valleys in your business. So that is normal. Now, here's the good news. You know, what was the old saying, Mike, is that when you're on the mountain, you shovel dirt into the valley so it breaks your fall, right? So so that's where you're when you're doing great, you're putting money away, you're getting ready, you got your systems in place so that you're ready for the downturns. But here are the big mistakes that people make. When times are really good, when you guys are in a peak, how many of you guys are experiencing a peak right now? You're busy and there's a lot of opportunity happening. I know Suzanne is. I know Kathy is. Awesome. Blair is. Great. So good. Totally unrelated to how many consecutive boot camps they've done, right? But the point is, they're in a peak. The biggest challenge now is that when we're in a peak, when things are going great, we have a tendency to take our foot off the gas. We have a tendency to take our foot off the gas. Then what happens is, before you blink, the pipeline is empty, and now you're in a valley.
A deep valley.
A deep valley. Because we know the compounding effect is about 60 to 90 days. So if you take a month off, 60 to 90 days from now, you got nothing going, and now it's going to take you 60 or 90 days to get something going. That's 4 months, people. That sucks, doesn't it? I know I shouldn't use words like that, but that's what it is. So you can't take your foot off the gas, even when you're busy. Even when you're ridiculously busy and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm signing people up left and right. I got all these orders to process. I'm struggling. You still need to be reaching out and connecting with people and creating energy and new relationships, because you want to keep that pipeline full all the time. Does this make sense? If you're so busy you can't handle it, then get somebody to help you. Get somebody into your business. This is a good place to be. Get somebody to help you service your customers, or get somebody to help you figure out what you can delegate so that you can keep reaching out and connecting with people. Does this make sense? That's a good time to be. That's a good place to be. What happens when we get into a valley? When we get into the valley, our first instinct, we don't see results. We stop seeing results and we get discouraged, right? So when we don't see the results, we get discouraged and we start losing our motivation. So what you need to do in those cases is put that foot down on the gas. Okay, put that foot down on the gas. You need to create the momentum. You got to create the momentum. I want you to think about, like, if you picture the peaks and valleys, how many of you have ever had a car breakdown and you had to push it along the side of the road? Have you guys ever had to do that? Okay, well, everybody over the age of whatever, we used to push our own cars, right? Now it's all roadside assistance. It's great. But I actually had a car in college. I had this 30-year-old Subaru that was rusted out. You could see the road through the floorboards. This is in New England where that's common. And I had to push it to start it every time. And if you ever have a car you had to push to start? Luckily, it was a Subaru, so I could get it going. I would push it, I get it rolling, and then I'd jump in and pop the clutch, and it would start. That's the only way it started. But I want you to picture yourself, your business, it's like you're pushing this car. And when you're going down the hill, you're pushing it down the hill. And then you're going to push it up the hill. So it's just like you got to keep pushing it. When you're going uphill from the valley, you have to push harder, don't you? You have to work harder. So it's just think about that. So when you're in the valley and you're discouraged and you don't feel like doing it, you got to get focused and just double down on your contacts, get excited, do things like bootcamp, whatever. But when you're in the valley, don't let the discouragement stop you, because that's the end. Make sense? So get focused on your PBS and keep going. Perseverance is the biggest deal. People start this business, they think, wow, if I could only get to 6 figures, that would be great. Okay, great. You're going to have to persevere through boredom, lack of visible results, and all that to get there. When you get to 6 figures, what happens? People get so bored, they go into management mode. They just start managing their team, right? They're having weekend getaways and they're training, and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm not making 6 figures anymore. What happened? Okay, they took their foot off the gas. They got bored too. So no matter where you are from a leadership perspective, you got to focus a little bit of time always on the important stuff, your income producing activities, reaching out, doing your power hours, connecting with people. Does it make sense? That's the perseverance, whether you're persevering to get to that first goal or whether you want to get to the next goal, or you've got a 7-figure business and you got to re-engage your passion and re-engage your excitement for it. How do you do it? Talking to people, getting people excited, sharing your passion with people. Okay. All right. I think that I hit it. I think that I hit all of my points, probably 10 times too many. Do you guys have questions on any of this? Do you have questions in general? Let's go ahead and open up Q&A for you guys, and we'll go wherever you need us to.
Let me add 10 seconds to what you just said too, you made a statement, which is true, is you'll always have peaks and valleys in your business. I jumped in and said a deep valley because the difference is that you have hills and little gullies. And when you have a business that's going, you're always going to have peaks and valleys. It doesn't matter how deep they are. So if you take your foot off the gas, your next valley is going to be very deep. If you're still consistent, it is going to have ebbs and flows. It's just the nature of the business. That's just the nature of life. But the difference between going like this and like this and like this and having little hills, little gullies, it's a big difference in your mindset. It's a big difference in your energy, big difference in your income, big difference in how you manage everything. It doesn't feel like the sky's falling. It feels like, okay, it's time for me to. So there's always peaks and valleys. It's just a matter of how deep they are, how high they are, and how consistent. So consistency is going to make the difference. So questions?
Just unmute and go for it if you've got one.
I have a question.
Hi.
This has been great, and it's been consistent. And my 2 accountability partners and I have just been rocking it. But we've also noticed that, you say you can get in and you can do it in the 30 minutes, which we're getting better at, going in and reaching out. And last week I went and I was like, I was going to get that double flame, and I got it. But with that, then came so many follow-ups and conversations, and like this week I'm like barely getting to the new connects because I'm so overwhelmed with, in a good way, with following up with the connections and making the calls and getting, and I'm getting customers and stuff like that. But any advice on the balance of that? Because it's like and I think a lot of us are struggling with that, because it's like, it's not the 30 minutes that's reaching out to people. It's then the other 2.5 hours or so when you're spending per day continuing the conversations with the people that you've reached out to initially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great question. First off, I just congratulations on getting double flames.
Yeah.
I can't say that I ever had that many connects
because
in 1 week.
I'm busy following up this week.
Double flames in 1 week is a ridiculous amount of connects. That's 150 people.
Yeah.
Right. And over 15 invites. So that is a big week. And I have to tell you, I don't know that I ever connected with that many people in a week. So that's a tremendous amount of connection. I know a lot of you guys are super competitive and you want those flames on the team report, but I want you to know, like, those flames aren't my expectation of you. I will just want you to hit your goal. What is your goal for your income goal? What is the daily amount for your daily income goal? Okay. So that's my first thing I want you to know. But look, I'm proud. I don't want you to slow down. I'm proud of you. I'm going to give you some tips. Okay. So when I first started doing this, here's my story is Mike and I have been teaching relationship marketing, this system, for years and years and years, but it was all by hand. We didn't have Teamsy. And so it was like, Blair, what I need you to do is give me a list of every single person you know. Great. Now we're going to give the highlighters. Here's the pink one. Here's the yellow one. Here's the green one, right? The people you like the best, give them the green. Great. So we're going to start with them. And then we're going to talk to them, this much. So it was all manual. And then it was like, this is too much for you to manage. So you need an assistant. Blair, we think you should hire an assistant that'll put the list on your desk every day so you can just get after it, right? So that was kind of how we did it. So when we got this idea of like, wow, we could create this software that could automate this for me, I was so excited. See, at the time we didn't have Teamsy. It was Teamsy was an idea. We were kind of working on it. I was trying to build my own direct sales business at the time. I couldn't wait. And so when the guys had the first version of Teamsy, and it was ugly, didn't look pretty or anything, but it worked. And I gave them my Facebook list, they export, and they put it in Teamsy. And suddenly I had 3,000 names in my account, prioritized and in a list, just like you guys have the up next. I was so excited. I went in there and I messaged 43 people in one sitting. And it was, I was so incredibly busy. I was on my phone 24/7 for 3 weeks. I had my biggest month in my business. I signed up, what was it? It was like, how many points did I have? Beachbody does these Success Club points. I had like 43 Success Club points. So what is that? A combination of 21 new customers and or distributors. 21 people I signed up that month in 3 weeks. It was insane. Now, you have to understand, I'm in the relationship business. I already had relationships and trust with my people I was connected to. So I didn't have to start with, hi, why are you messaging me? Like when I messaged people, like we already had some rapport. So that's why I got such great results. But I was insanely overwhelmed, Blair, that first week. And my wife was like, you're on your phone 24/7. And this is when I got sage advice from my wife. She said, if you were coaching yourself, what's the first piece of advice you would give yourself? And I looked at her and I said, time block. She goes, exactly, time block. So time block, do you guys know what time block is? It's just when you put things in your calendar. We talked about it briefly a little while ago. It's instead of just when I'm going to message people when they respond to me, it's I'm going to block time to respond to people. And so in the beginning, what I would do is I would say, okay, so I'm going to, I'd get up and I would do my power early before my kids woke up. So it's like between 4 and 5 a.m. So most people weren't responding, which was great. I'd send those messages out. And then I would have a few blocks in the day that were set aside where I would respond. So at that time, I still had my full-time job. So I couldn't really do it during work time. So it would be like, lunchtime, 12 to 12:30 or whatever. I would go see who responded to me and try to message them. And then I'd have a block later in the evening, maybe an hour. And I would try to do it during those times. If you do that, it will really help. When I left my job and I was full-time in my business, then I had more time blocked for talking to people. So I was able to expand that from 90 minutes to about 3.5 hours that I blocked in my day, different times where I would message people and just talk to people. Or I would have, just to clarify, like I didn't expand my messaging time, but then I created blocks that were for phone calls and Zoom calls and lunches, where I would be meeting with people, the people that were cultivating from this. So those were different times that I had blocked. So when I did have somebody who was really interested, I would say, oh, if you want to grab lunch this week, and I already had it in my calendar. These were the open times. If you want to get on a Zoom, will one of these times work? And I had them blocked. So the time blocking, Blair, is the only way to really wrangle this down. And then this question has come up in our group a few times because, like, for example, if you're using Facebook Messenger a lot, which I rely on because it gets such a great response rate. Try not to, if you do read a message when you're not able to respond to it, mark it back as unread. You can do this just like an email. You can mark it as unread so it stays black in your messenger. Okay. And then when you get into your time set aside, let's say you have 12 to 1 set aside to go answer messages, go into Messenger and you can sort by unread. And it will bring all the unread messages to the top. And you can and if let's say you have an hour, then that's enough time. You can work down and respond to every single person that's on your unread list. And you'll be really pretty much on top of it. Does that make sense? So that's the way I would kind of create some order to the chaos, but also encourage you by saying, what an awesome place to be in, because you've got all these people talking to you, right? So
yeah, not complaining, because it's like all these people are responding to me. So, but suddenly it was like so many were responding that I don't feel like I'm doing the Teamsy stuff, but it's stuff from last week that I overachieved. And it was, again, not complaining, but it's just like, wow, it was like this week seems like it's all just keeping up with everything I scheduled last week or got started last week.
For sure. And so this week you don't need to get double flames, or
No.
This week you don't need to get double flames, but I want you to hit whatever your goal was on your Teamsy dashboard.
Yes.
That's it. Just hit that. Okay. And you're good. Just keep that rolling, if that makes sense. But blitzes are to create momentum. And when you create that momentum, it's like, oh my gosh. But then once the momentum's going, it takes less to maintain it. Does that make sense? So So it's like the rocket ship, the rocket ship, the spacecraft is this tiny little thing that it's like a tin can with guys, with men and women inside. And it's strapped to this massive bomb basically, because it's got to create that momentum to get them up. And then they float around in this little thing. So that's your business. It's like the blitz, what you did this week, that's the launch. And now you just got to keep the little thrusters going as you go, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Jackie asked in the chat, how do I bring contacts into the customers who's up next?
How do I bring contacts into the customers who's up next? So every contact you put in Teamsy comes up in that up next box. If you want them to come up sooner, you rank them higher. So 5-star people will show up sooner and they'll show up more often.
Okay, but the customers, there's never anything in there. And yet I have a lot of things that, when you look at the details, rather than them being prospects, they're customers, but they never show up in that what's up next.
So every time you connect with them, so if you connect with them outside of the 30 days that you have them, it's gonna reset that 30 days. So every time you connect with them, if you have them ranked as a 5-star, they'll come up every 30 days. But if you connect with them in between the 30 days for some other reason, it resets the 30 days.
Are they set up as customers though?
Yeah, they won't come, Jackie, they won't come back on your up next list until they're due again. So based on their star ranking, 30, 60, 90, 120 days, after you've connected, they will look invisible until that time has passed, then they come back. So if you've connected with all the customers on your list, some of you, this should have happened by now 9 weeks in. Your customer list is empty because you've connected with everybody and they haven't some of them are still waiting to come back. So that's totally normal, especially if you don't have hundreds of customers in the beginning. But one thing you can do is you can go to your team page, click on customers. You can get that full list anytime from the team page, and you can rank them up a little bit higher. You can make them 5 stars or 4 stars so they come back sooner.
Okay, rank higher. Okay, what my customers are actually, because I don't actually have people that I've sold any products to that are people I want to work with that the scripts would be applicable to. What my customers are basically downline people that are wholesale customers. And so I'm, at the point where I want to try to get some real customers instead, because I've got, 5,500 people in my downline, but most of them, almost 99% of them are not people that I've worked with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of awkward,
Yeah. It's awkward because now you're having to restart a relationship with them. But, the thing about building a relationship is over time it gets warmer. And it's just about, you just got to reach out first and start saying hello. It's like it's like a new neighbor moves in next door. And you can go over the day they move in and bring some food and welcome them to the neighborhood. And that's not awkward. But when they've lived there 4 months and you haven't met them yet, now it's going to be awkward to go do it, right? But once you've done it, now you have a relationship started with your neighbor. So just think of it like that. It's just kind of like, okay, hey, I made a commitment to stay in better touch with people. How are you? Let's connect. Let's stay in touch. Is there anything I can do to help you? I'm here now.
Okay, I've been doing better with that thanks to you, thanks to this training.
Awesome.
Can I say one other thing? And I know other people want to say something, but what I've been doing, because I'm in doTERRA and a lot of people don't really have a concept of what essential oils are. And I found a documentary. It's actually an hour and 14 minutes long. And it was, I think the people that actually produced it are from Young Living, another company, but they don't mention any companies in the documentary. So I'm inviting people, and that's where I, connect and invite to watch that video so that when I do have a discussion with them, they really will understand what the oils are about. So am I doing backwards here or, because I feel like I'm just, wasting my breath by trying to say little bits and pieces. about what the oils are and what it can do for people. And that video ties everything together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with sharing that if they're interested in learning about what oils are. Are you getting a good response?
I've had a few, and then I, follow up by asking them if they, have watched it. And in some, because it is long, and I say it's in sections and segments, and so you could break it up, watch one section at a time. But one person who I contracted with to do a website for me and to do social media posting, and I said, I really need you to know, be on the same page with me, because we have FDA compliance issues we have to follow, etc. And so I insisted that she watch it, and she was resistant for over a month. And when she finally did, she said, oh my God, I understand now. So now I can work with her, and I'm not scared to death that she's going to, post something that's non-compliant that gets me in trouble.
Right.
So, I almost feel like I'm having to not bully, but just insist, that people at least get the basics, have a clear understanding of what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's an important thing. I think, I kind of ranted about sending videos on a previous call. Do you guys remember that? I don't know if you guys remember that. Like, I'm not against sending videos, but I'm against sending video to somebody who's not really interested in it, because I think it's kind of a waste of everybody's time, right? So what I would do is, Jackie, if you can get to a point in conversation where they're interested in learning about oils and they just want to know more, then that would be a good time to give it to them. I know for me, if you were like, you need to watch this video because then you'll understand what I'm doing, I'd be like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really believe in the idea of prescriptive sales, and the idea that you find out what their specific problem is so you can solve it. Mike and I are big into oils, both of us. I've got oils going right now. So like, I understand them, but
right there.
Yeah, he's got his going, mine's going. The thing is like, we have had people tell us stories about things, and so we know, like, I mean, I'm not a rep for doTERRA or Young Living or any of them, but I have definitely sold oil because people will say, well, I've got this problem. I go, well, have you tried essential oils? Try this oil. It helps a friend of mine. And like, for me, it's like sharing what the oils have done. Like, I had a friend who had a lot of digestive issues, and had tried everything. And it was like, well, look, I've got an extra bottle. Let's just try this. And he's like, oh, that really helps. I was like, yeah, we use it on the baby. Like, I gave him the baby version. You guys know what I'm talking about. The baby digestive oil. Like, I gave him that and it helped him. So like, figure out what's going on in their life, Jackie. You're going to get better results if you can find out what their needs are and say, oh, well, I have a solution to that need. Let me send you some information on how this helps.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it does.
Barry invited me to this conference call last night. Barry, I'm picking on you. You're right there on my screen. He invited me on this conference call last night to guest speak a little bit about relationship marketing, which was great. And then after me, the next guest speaker was an MD who was really knowledgeable on the products that Barry's company represents. And I really learned a lot about, in this case, it was about omega oils. And it was just somebody explaining to me about mega oils and how they work and why they're so important. And it was really, really interesting. But, you got to find out, like, what is the specific thing that they need, and then educate them on that. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I would just tell stories, just tell stories about how oils have impacted your life or other people's lives. You can do that without coming out of compliance. And, it's just so they can kind of understand how it can help people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. We're kind of going back to, the personal relationship, but
yeah,
instead of, the big picture.
It's all about the personal relationship. It's all about finding out how you can use what you're passionate about to help them improve their life. and helping them to understand that. Now, the documentary you found is probably a great tool. When somebody's interested in learning more about oils, when they're intrigued, or, then say, oh, I have this great, would you like this? A lot of people will like it. But you know what I mean? The other thing you might be able to do is, you might be able to cut up little pieces out of it, 1-minute segments that are specific to something that they might need. So hopefully that helps.
And I'm not too techy, but I'll try to figure out how to do that, because I don't know if it's copyrighted. It might be. Can you do that? A video that's someone else's video?
You can, you can share it individually with people, usually, no problem. You don't try to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who else?
All right,
Who else has a question? Does anyone want to chime in on that? And it's okay.
When you share a video, it's basically to explain, once you've already troubleshooted, once you've already had that conversation, once you've already established the rapport, once you've already discovered what their issues are that you can solve, and like, okay, well then what do I need to solve my problem? Well, here's what it is. And instead of you yapping your trap, sounding like the expert, making yourself really insignificant, and they're going to go, ho hum, right? Oh my God, I have to know all this stuff in order to do what she does. No, you discover what the problem is, figure it out, the rapport, you've already established all of that. Okay, now what do I need? What's going to solve my problem? This. Watch this 10-minute thing. I'm going to check back with you in 12 minutes. I can't wait to hear what you think. Once you watch it, you're going to have a lot of your questions answered. If you have any questions after that, I'm right here for you. And they're going to know immediately that they can send a video to answer people's questions. Yeah. And I think that's what you need to do. If you can find something that's shorter than an hour, honestly, that sounds great for somebody like you who's all into whatever it is you're doing. But the fact is nobody wants to watch an hour-long video. It's really hard for people to sit down and do that. So 10 minutes or less. If you can do 5 minutes, that'd even be better.
Yeah. I have to be honest, and I know, when I was doing my business, I sent the videos after I had their money. Like, my follow-up email had the video links. It was like, oh, thanks for your purchase. Here's information on all the stuff you're getting. But again, you guys need to understand, as you're building trust with people over time and you build advocates in your business, you are not going to have to explain everything. They're just going to say, Jackie, what do I need? You know what my problem is now. What do I need? And you're going to say, this is what I recommend. You get this, this, and this. And then you say, great. And then, great, perfect. Let's get it. Great. We've got it all ready. It's on its way. Here's some more information on what you got, because you'll have questions later. Congratulations on your purchase. So, if you guys look at, I don't know if I ever showed you like my emails. I had an email for every program, and in the PS was the links. Here's more information about the products that you're getting. So it was kind of like an afterside. So anyways, there's lots of ways you can use it, but remember, the most important thing out of this is focusing in on the person and what they need, what their problem is, and how you can solve it. And don't just try to give them a one solution for all problem situation, because that's super annoying. Figure out what it is they need, and I always joked with people where it's like, would you like to learn more about what I'm doing? Yes, I would. Send the video. It's like, no. What do they need to learn? They want to learn more. Great. Ask more questions, find out why, what they need, what they're, what it is, and then send them the exact thing. I think on another call, I might've riffed about this, where it's like, imagine if you weren't feeling well and you went to the doctor's office and the nurse said, the nurse, first thing they do is ask you your symptoms, right? I know we've got some nurses on here. Imagine if instead the nurse said, here's a brochure, Eric, of all the pharmaceuticals that the doctors here in our office prescribe. Go ahead and take a look at that brochure and see what interests you the most, so you can talk to the doctor when he's in the room with you. Can you imagine if they did that? If you'd like to, you can step over here where we've got videos playing. You can go a little deeper and watch videos on all these pharmaceuticals. It's like, what are you talking about? I need you to tell me what I need. That's the difference between a prescriptive sale and just like, here's my amazing products that my company sells. Does that make sense? So just keep that in mind. Whatever tool it is, just think about it. Okay, is this helping me solve their problem? Or is this video just making it easy to solve my problem?
Well, and the key is temperature wise, how not to use a video or anything else is coldly. So if it's cold, then you're going to miss most of the time. You're going to have one exception here and there, but so how warm are they, and how well does that solution or that explanation or that education help them? And I always think about this. So prescriptive selling is one thing. The other aspect of selling is always put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in their shoes. You know what you know, and you're passionate about it. That's awesome. But at the same time, you have to, the only way to know how much they can understand or how much their capacity to receive is by asking the questions and listening. So I've said this, I don't think I've said it this boot camp. I actually used to do a little bit of a training on this, but the most essential tool you have as a salesperson is the ability to listen, is the skill of listening. Because if you don't listen, even if it's writing, if you know, because you can read a message, and listening to that message, reading it correctly, and really hearing what they're saying is important in how you respond. But put yourself in their shoes. They know nothing, and they're interested. If you just go and just share everything you've ever learned about what you know, you're going to lose them. On the flip side, sometimes we don't share enough. So it's just a matter of having that balance. But the key is listening and then putting yourself in their shoes. If I were sitting on the other side of my conversation, you know, and I've read them right, like they know nothing about oils, they know nothing about nutrition or you know, the product I have. What's the appropriate next step? Here's another phrase that I'm going to encourage you to think about and use in your sales. The next logical step is, so Suzanne, based on where we are, the next logical step is for me to explain to you the best product I have based on what your needs are. And then after that, the next logical step is to, you know, are you ready to place an order? I can send you the links, you know. So the next logical step is a mental process for you, as well as thinking through what's the next logical step here. Sometimes you say it, sometimes you don't need to. Just say it to yourself. In this situation, based on what they've told me, based on what I know, based on how I can bless them with what I know, what's the next logical step? And don't go beyond that step. Just discipline yourself to go as far as you need to, hear the response, and then go to the next logical step. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Question? Another question? All right.
Barry, I got a background question. So you guys are all about relationship marketing. Maybe I missed this somewhere, but what's the genesis of the relationship marketing for each of you and the passion? Because it clearly comes through, but I'm just curious, like, what's driving this for you guys? Because it's there.
You want to go first?
Well, I'll go first. I made my for 15 years. My earliest part of my career, I made my living strictly on sales, and I didn't know that I was doing relationship marketing because my nature, the job that Eric and I got, or I started working there first. The company we both worked together. When I had my interview, they have a real intense personality profile that they do, and when I did my interview, I did an interview with the person who was an expert in this, who, even though I didn't do the personality profile, she could read me and tell my nature. And she was blown away that I had made my living at sales for 15 years because my nature is not my natural skills are not that of a natural salesperson, which typical salespeople are motivators, and they're you know, high energy and she was blown away. She didn't understand how I made my living at sales very successfully for that long. And she said, "How did you do that?" And I gave her the answer that I'm telling you about what sales is. I said, the way I sell is I found out what people needed, and I found a way to meet that need. That's how I sold. You know, I built a rapport, I built trust, even if it was in a very short period of time. So it started there for me. And then professionally, when I worked for the company, it was a business coaching and training company. That was the MO. That was the method that we taught as well. And Eric and I have kind of taken it to another level in terms of, it was very specific, the type of programs that we were teaching and selling in the marketplace. And we broadened it, not just from a network marketing standpoint, but a broader application of how to use it systematically and how to make it effective and efficient, no matter what the business, no matter what the scenario is. But from a personal standpoint, to answer your question, I believe we're created for relationship. I believe that outside of relationship, we don't really have any context or purpose. And so without that, whether it's a one-on-one relationship with my wife or with my kids or my concentric circles outside of that, without that connection relationally, then life's not that fun and not that meaningful. So, so there's the aspect. I don't know if I answered your question, but gave a little bit of background from where we come from. So
my background is in waiting tables and bartending. How many of you guys have that? As that was my first training in how to handle people and how to help people and serve people. And I went to college. I got a job in a restaurant, worked my way through college. I got my fancy degree and my debt, and I couldn't get a job that paid me better than waiting tables. So for several years, I continued to do that. And wherever I worked, I made the best tips. I had the full station 7 days a week. People were like, "What are you doing?" And to Mike, kind of like Mike, I didn't really know any different. I just wanted to make sure that people had the best experience ever. And so I found myself really investing in my customers, getting to know them, finding out what they liked, and then asking them, "Are you having a great time? How is everything going?" As they went through. And when they would give me the affirmatives, like, "Yeah, we're having a great time. This is great," I would say, "Whenever you come in, you can ask for me." And they go, "Oh, okay." And I would say, "Yeah, you just ask for me at the front. I'll make sure that you have a great time every time. In fact, if you have friends or family who have a special occasion or just want to have an amazing meal, make sure they ask for me and I'll take care of them for you." "Oh, thank you, Eric." And so people would come in and tell the hostess, "We need Eric's section." And there were nights where I was the only one with customers and the other people that worked there were pissed off at me. And so, the people who own the coaching company that Mike and I work for, they came in one time and I took care of them. They were like, "Wow, you're a natural at this." They couldn't believe it when I asked them to send their friends and family to ask for me. And so, we got recruited and worked and went through and got trained up on being business coaches, and just applying that, just, like how you talk to people, how you connect with people, how you remember them, how you make them feel valued, how you figure out exactly what people need in order to have an awesome experience or to solve the problem that they have. Like, this is universal. We learned a system that was successful in other industries. And then over 15 years of applying it with thousands of people, we kind of made our own tweaks and said, "Works better like this," or "It works better like that," or "That system is old school, but we can apply this now, this way." And so to answer your question, Barry, like, that's how we kind of got to our current version of relationship marketing. It's like all of our life experience, all the people we've helped, all the business owners that we've helped grow their business over the last 16 years. Now 3.5 years of TeamZ, working with over 100,000 direct sellers. Like, we've got just massive experience applying this now. It's pretty cool. And so, the passion is, like Mike said, we're designed to be in community. The two biggest lies that we are taught, especially in the United States. I know not everybody on this call is in the US, but in the United States, we are taught that people are self-interested and they are money motivated. And we've built like this whole American ethos on this idea of the self-interested, money-motivated person. It's not true. Neither one of those things is true. All the social science proves that people are not money-motivated. Yeah, people need to have food with their meals and have their basic things happen, but they're not money-motivated. They're motivated by relationship and connection and belonging. And all the happiness studies will show you that happiness is truly found in service. And so if you want to get spiritual, I'll tell you, we're designed to be in relationship and serve others. That's where we find our fulfillment and our success in life. Relationship marketing happens to nail both of those. It allows you to build a business that is successful, that's based on serving others and being in relationship with others. So it's like, don't go against our design. Let's lean into what we're naturally made for and go for it. Make sense? So it's something, obviously it's something we're both really passionate about. And what's really cool is we get to see you guys do it and be successful doing it.
Yeah.
Which then hits all those buttons for us. So we're glad you're here. We are incredibly honored that you all raised your hands and said, yeah, we want to go on this journey with you guys. We hope that this was valuable. I know we've been on the call a long time. Tell your teammates when they see the total length of this video to watch it anyways. They don't have to watch the whole thing. I always tell people, people are like, your video was an hour. Just watch 10 minutes of it then. If you want to keep going, you can. But make sure you let them know. There might be some nuggets in here for them to help. But we appreciate you guys coming on live with us. As Mike said, boot camp's not over. Please continue to plug in and stay engaged. We'll be with you. FYI, the next boot camp is going to start second week of July. There's a little bit of overlap. So if you've got teammates that have been thinking about this, definitely nudge them because we want to help as many people as we can. So with that, I'll say God bless you guys and have a great night.
Much grace and peace. Thank you. Take care. Good night.
Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
You.